Hello, welcome to my new YouTube series where I'm going to teach you guys how to whittle. These are some of my whittle buddies, which is what I call them. They're my favorite little guys. We have a sausage dog over here. We have a little bear. I wanted to start this YouTube series because I just love making these little guys, like this little turtle over here. And I don't see a lot of content for whittling on YouTube. So I figured I'd give it a shot. We have a little elephant right here. The one before this was a otter with a little fish. And yeah, so let's get started. So what you're gonna need is balsa wood. Any kind of balsa wood is good. This is just part of a pack that I got off Amazon. You're gonna need a good knife. I recommend anything from Beavercraft. But Modacne is also a very, very good brand and just a little bit more expensive. You're going to need a little detailing knife for just curves and stuff that you might not be able to get with the point of your bigger knife. Please get yourself a pair of safety gloves. You're going to need some safety gloves. Please do not try this, without them. As you can see, it's cut proof and mine are a little worn down, but they still do the job. And finally, a sander. I recommend a tougher grit for the first layer just to get those rough edges out, and then a finer grit as you go. So the first step is to draw out your outline. So today we're going to make a little chicken, and we're going to make it simple, nothing too flamboyant, just so we know where everything's placed. And it's honestly pretty simple from here. You're just going to start cutting out that outline. Sometimes I like to draw on all four sides, but because it's such a simple design, we're just going to use the one side for today. Please remember to wear your gloves. I have had so many injuries because I got cocky and decided to not use them, so please, safety first. And here we go. So what I'm going to do right now is what I call a V-cut. So a V-cut is just, you cut at one angle, and then you cut in the opposite direction at that angle, and then you have a V. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it a lot easier to get into those hard to reach areas. So you're just going to keep doing your V cuts, and then you're going to start sweeping. It's kind of like just a gentle sweep. Go very slow. Don't try to rush it. Honestly, most of what makes up whittling is just patience. And I don't know if you guys saw that scene in Surf's Up about going with the grain, but that scene plays on my head on a loop every time I whittle. And honestly, it makes sense. Because when you go against the grain, your wood is going to break. It's going to crack. So right now what I'm doing is I'm starting to expand those cuts all the way through. So as you see, I'm drawing a line and then I'm cutting at an angle towards that line. That's going to help us actually define and get that shape out. Normally what a lot of people do is they have an actual machine that they can just kind of pass the lines through, and that makes it easier. I do not have that, so we're going rustic today. So right now I'm drawing out the shape with the tip of my knife and cutting at an angle towards it. And that's going to help us start getting it out of the block, and it's going to make it really easy to carve out. And there you go, there's our shape. So as you can see, it's still attached to the block. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to keep doing cuts at an angle to try to get it out of the block. Again, a lot of patience. The more you do it, the more your hand gets used to the pressure and it becomes easier. So don't get frustrated if it takes you a lot longer the first time. And plop, just break that out. So now that we have our cutout piece, we're going to start rounding it out. Just getting rid of those rough edges and trying to get it as close to the shape as possible. This can still be very rough, so don't worry too much about details yet. Right now we're just curving out that line and trying to get it as close to the shape as we can. So this is the part where it starts getting a little scary. When I first started whittling, I was always worried that I was gonna take too large of a chunk out or I was gonna do something wrong and mess up the whole process, but it honestly takes a really large amount of force to take out a large chunk and to mess it up. So just take it easy and keep rounding out those corners. As you can see, you're just gonna do that swooping motion and keep it nice and light. So a really important thing to take into account is your grip. So as you can see, I'm using my thumb to push the knife towards the wood, and that's gonna help you get a lot more force. So now we're actually gonna start carving it out into our chicken shape. So you're gonna make those guidelines of how thick or thin you want the tail to be. It has to end at an angle, so don't be scared of taking out a large chunk of wood. This is where you actually want to start eliminating a good amount so you can get that actual shape, and it's not just going to look like a block, because that's kind of what happens a lot with beginner whittlers, is that they're scared of taking out too much, so their whole design starts looking very square or rectangular, and it doesn't have that like soft curve. So don't be scared of taking out enough. You know, you're going to get rid of that design. That's going to be a little daunting, but just trust the process. And here we go. We have our chicken. It's still very rough, but we have that shape outlined, a small little head, a small little tail. And now what I'm doing is I'm just drawing out the wings so I can, with the tip of my knife, start drawing it out. This is a very slow process, so don't rush it. You don't want to actually make a wrong cut and accidentally have to take away more wood than you want to. And again, it's all about just cutting at the angle of your guideline and doing it very, very gently. And there we go. We have a little chicken with 2 wings, a beak, and everything. So now what's going to happen, since he's still rough, we're going to take our hard grit sandpaper and we're going to start smoothing him out. Now this is a step where we're going to actually pull our whole piece together. So it does come down to style choices. If you prefer your piece to be a lot more rougher and to have those knife indents, that's totally fine. That's up to you. A lot of really amazing whittlers like to have the rough marks on their pieces, and it looks gorgeous. My style just happens to be really smooth. I like them to look like they're made out of clay. So I definitely go in with my sandpaper and I rough it out as much as I can, as you see. But again, it just comes down to style choices. So right now what I'm doing is I'm using the tip of my knife and I'm twirling it around to make those eyes. And you're just going to go in a few times. Sometimes it can be a little rough to get the perfect circle. And then I just go in with my pencil and I draw it out. And there you go, you have an eye. So same thing on the other side. Twirl, twirl, twirl. Don't do it too hard. You don't want to break the wood. And there you go, you have 2 eyes. So right now what I'm doing is I'm using my pencil to outline little details, things that I like to add. Again, it comes down to style. You don't have to do this part if you don't want to. I just like having little designs on them, honestly. I'm going to start coloring in the beak because I want it to be a lot more visible than it is. But again, it really depends on what you want to do. And there we go. We've made a little chicken, ready to be loved and everything. Thank you guys so much for staying for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything else I should make, any other animal, or a video talking about materials, or techniques, or anything, just let me know, please. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like and leave a comment on what you wanted to see next. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.